How's it going, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of Budget Build. Today, we're going to see if we could spend 15 grand upgrading a stock car to take 15 seconds off its lap time. That's right, we're going to be spending 1 grand for every second that we try to take off its time. And what car are we going to be working on?
Yo, is that a...
That's right, our humble hybrid from the first episode, the Toyota Prius. When I saw this car take about 15 seconds more than 2 minutes to get around the track, I saw an opportunity for our first budget build. So let's take it to the shop and see if we can take 15 seconds off its lap time for 15 grand. Okay, so here we are. We've got our Toyota Prius, and let's see what we're working with here. Okay, so it looks like we've got a 4-banger in here. And I wonder whether I don't think they've represented the hybrid nature of the engine here. It does just look like a regular 4-cylinder combustion. This is pretty normal though, because this is a mod, and I'm pretty sure that the mod cars don't get additional engine components. Instead, what they actually do is they just recycle assets that are already used in some of the other vehicles in the games. I've seen some... Whoa, hang on a second. Do have an EV battery here. I guess they could just bolt on whatever they like. So yeah, this is our EV module. Interesting. Let's see if we could upgrade that as well. Well, before we do anything, we first need to get a bit of a measure of what this thing is capable of. So I'm going to go ahead and take it to the dyno. Now this is where we're going to be able to measure the kind of power numbers that this car is putting out. Now, because this is a stock car and we literally just purchased it and took it around the track once, I think it's highly likely that we're just going to see stock numbers. And sure enough, that's exactly what it made from the factory. So we've got to make a bit more power, and I would like to do something about the tires. Maybe better get a bit better grip on this thing, but we'll see how we go. First, I'm going to do some scoping and see what parts we can afford to upgrade first. Let's start by checking out some tires. So now that we got our tires off, we can actually have a look at how much a fitting replacement would cost. So we're looking at a 195 with a 65 profile at 15 inches. Let's head on over to the computer and see what we could get for that. Okay. So we could go some full-on racing slicks. If we got 4 of those, 15 inch at 195 and a 65 profile, that's already a third of our price. So there's that option. We could go a slightly cheaper tire. The slick tires are about 600 a pop. We could go a race tire, and that would give us some better performance for about half the price. That might actually be better use of our budget. Let's see what we end up with this. That is a lot easier to swallow. For about half the cost, we're getting some serious improvement to grip. So I'm thinking this might be the way to go. We could spend the rest of the money on power mods. I'm a bit less concerned about maximizing the potential grip here on account of the fact that this thing really wasn't quartering that quickly anyway. So while tires are, even in the real world, some of the best value for money performance improvements you could do to a car, I don't think this car is really stressing the grip of even its stock tires. So we're going to go with the race tires, I think. Okay, here we go. The first bit of our budget spent. Okay. So let's go ahead and get these tires fitted on. Now, one of the things I did forget to check was whether all the tires were the same size, but luckily There's nothing staggered about this setup. So we're going to be able to run the same tire on all four corners. We're not going to bother with the wheels, as I'm not convinced we're going to see much improvement. That's yet to be determined, but I know for a fact that in this game, tires do improve performance because your drag rating goes up, depending on what tires you're running on the car. Out with the old, in with the new. Race tire, please. Okay, and to keep things moving, I'm going to go ahead and start balancing our new tires while they're fitting. And now we can keep that daisy chain going. So should be left with 4 stock tires. Yes, that's correct. Let's go ahead and get these guys fitted on. You'll forgive me for not role-playing and using a star pattern on that first tire. Whoop. As the sensitivity of the mouse kind of slips, and sometimes I do the wrong bolt first. There we go. That's the way to do it. So to make sure we stick to the rules of the budget, we're going to start tracking our spending to make sure we keep it under 15 grand. To begin with, we purchased a set of racing tyres with the stock size, radius and width. This set us back $2,380, leaving us with $12,620. Now that we've improved our grip and traction, it's time to check out some power mods. Okay, let's check out this exhaust. It's pretty standard. I reckon we give it a full exhaust system. I'd like to say turbo back, but we all know better. There's no turbo back system here because there's no turbo here. We could just go ahead and slap a turbo on. That'd pretty much be problem solved. But remove the manifold here. Quite a few screws here. Let me know in the comments down below if you know what the correct torque sequence is for something like this. I tend to just sort of split the difference in. I didn't do it just then, but sometimes what I try to do is, I guess, the equivalent of a star pattern because you want the pressure to apply evenly. Tell me if my thinking is right or wrong, if you know anything about torque sequences. Okay, so we've got the exhaust off. Let's go ahead and add it to the shopping list. Okay, and here's our shopping list. Let's see what it costs to replace that. We're going to go with the performance versions of these parts, going up into tune-up. And I'm going to take some totals. Okay, so a full exhaust system, after I've done the math, is going to cost us, it's going to run us about just shy of $2,000. And I think that's a pretty good start. And it's not too expensive. I think we can swallow that. So let's do a full exhaust system. Let's get our performance exhaust fitted. It's a lot shinier looking. Okay, we've got the... I wonder whether you'd still call that... Is that a downpipe? I mean, it's still coming down from the manifold, but it's not really going down to a turbo, which is what I think of when I think of a downpipe. Alright, so this is sort of what I'm guessing. Whoop, I meant to do that one in the corner just then. This is what I'm guessing a torque sequence should look like. I'd be very curious to see if I'm way off the mark there, or whether there's any torque sequence at all for something like the manifold. Okay, so our performance exhaust is now fitted. Combining the cost of all the sections of our exhaust system, we spent a total of $1,890, leaving us with $10,730 to continue upgrading our Prius. We're actually tracking a lot better with this challenge than I thought. We've already replaced all 4 tyres with performance tyres. We've done a performance exhaust, and we've still got more than 10 grand to play with. I don't think we're going to bother with the brakes since we've got to work on gathering speed first. I'm almost tempted to put a performance gearbox in this thing because it didn't really seem to move very quickly. What I'm going to do first, though, is get us a bit more torque with an upgraded EV module. Looks like we have 2 EV modules, so let's go ahead and remove those. See if we can get a performance variant. Yes, we can. Ooh, that's quite a bite into our budget if we bought 2 of those. That's going to take 4 grand off. Oh, is this where we want to spend our money? You know what? It's there to spend, so let's go ahead and do it. Let's just eat the cost. I'm really hoping that this is going to pay some nice dividends. So this is where things get a bit risky. We just spent $4,242 on a pair of high-performance EV modules. I'm not even convinced this is going to give us a great deal of performance, but we need to give the Prius every chance we can. So that's left us with $6,488 to continue upgrading. Okay, so we've got our EV module installed. That's given us according to the totals here, a 4% performance increase. And I don't know that 4% is going to equate to 4% of 2 minutes, but we'll see. Okay, so next I'm just going to take a look at some of the typical stuff you'd probably want to upgrade, like your injectors and your air filter, a few things like that. Okay, so we've got some simple bolt-ons here. We've got fuel filter, fuel rail DI, a bunch of spark plugs, ignition coils, air filter, throttle, intake manifold. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on all of these mods. Okay, and now it's time to go ahead and fit them in. With our air filter cover. We've got our bigger fuel rail, our intake manifold, our sporty throttle, and of course our ignition improvements. So we just did a serious set of engine mods. We just upgraded our ignition coils, our spark plugs, we put in bigger injectors, a performance fuel filter, a performance air filter, air intake, and throttle. This entire package cost us $2,920, leaving us with $3,568. And that's what we have left to see if we could get the Prius under 2 minutes on the track. So far, we've done a bunch of engine bolt-ons. We've done a full exhaust system, and we've done all the tires, and we've done an upgraded EV module. I'm not sure if that's quite going to be enough. The thing that's got me really worried is the sluggy gearbox. So I'm going to see whether we can buy a new gearbox for what's left of our budget. So gearbox type 14. Yes, we could buy an improved custom gearbox for our budget. Let's do that. Looks like this has been represented as a front-wheel drive. I don't know if these cars are actually front-wheel drive. I imagine they would be, but the reason I know looking here is that the drive shafts are coming straight out of the gearbox here and going through the wheel hub. And by drive shaft, I mean the drive axles. Okay, so now we just need to find our starter. We've got to lower the car to get to that. Pop the hood. I'd be a terrible mechanic. Even in a video game, I don't seem to be able to ever find the starter. Alright, let's get this back up and pull that gearbox out. Off it comes. Out with the old, in with the custom. That's a very expensive part to only get 1% performance. I wonder if there's, well, I wonder how much thought is actually put into the percentages you get from the performance parts in this game, or whether those percentages actually add up to anything. Although I will say, by the time you actually fine-tune the gearbox and the ratios, you can dramatically improve your acceleration. Drive shaft. On the drive axle. Back on with our tire. Don't want to upset anyone, so let's get the star pattern right. Down we go. And let's check our starter. There it is. Goes. Should be good to go. In order to give us an edge with acceleration that the Prius so desperately needs, we just purchased a custom gearbox for $1,300, leaving us with $2,268 to finish our build. So the last thing we can do that I can think of that's a sort of a simple bolt-on would be to upgrade the ECU. So let's see if we can find it first. There it is, ECU type A. Pull that off and see if we can upgrade it for less than $2,200. ECU type A. Looks like we can afford a stage 1. That'll give us a 2% gain. So let's go with that. Okay, on with our ECU. And we should be good to go. Having performed a great deal of mechanical mods, it was time to upgrade the computer, with the performance ECU costing us $1,800 and taking us to stage 1 state of tune. We were left with $468. For about $400, we might be able to get some better rotors. Let's have a look. Oh, it doesn't look like we can improve much for a grand total of $400. What we can do is we can upgrade the front too. So we can go with ventilated and slotted or ventilated and drilled. It looks like we get better performance out of these. Hopefully the game actually interprets this as a realistic improvement and doesn't penalize us by unbalancing the braking, particularly when we're cornering. So we're going to go with these. They seem like the best value. Hey, one thing that I just realized is we get a discount, so we're actually able to spend a bit less. But that's okay. We'll stick to regular retail because that's what I've been calculating so far. Okay, let's put our new and improved brakes on. There we go. That'll get us a bit better stopping power. Not that we really have a problem with wiping speed off. Our biggest problem, if you remember the last video, our biggest problem was acquiring speed to begin with. So who knows, the tires could have been a giant waste of money because we may not have been pushing the car beyond the parameters of its grip. And back on with our fun race tire. With a measly $468 left in the budget, all that we could afford was brakes. In fact, we couldn't even afford brakes around the entire vehicle. As is the case for a lot of enthusiast motoring, we chose to upgrade just the front pair, giving it slotted and ventilated brakes to increase our stopping power. I tried to use the entire budget, but with $68 left, all that's good for is chicken McNuggets for a week. Okay, now that we've spent all but $68 of our budget, it's time to take this car to the dyno and see if we make some better power. Actually, before that, we're going to do a little bit of tuning. So, let's go ahead and see if we could get a bit more power out of this ECU. There we go. And we got a 7% increase from that. The last thing we're going to do is tweak the gearbox a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and use a real gear ratio calculator for drag cars because I have found that you can get some massive performance gains from it. It might actually be cheating, but for this budget build, we're going to see how we go with it. Okay, so we're back in game. This thing, I think, only actually had 3 gears or could only get through 3 gears before. So we're just going to go up to 4. And we're going to observe some of these ratios that I found online. These are drag car ratios, but we'll, I think we're still going to get some very good performance out of this with these ratios. If you're interested in the calculator that I'm using, I'm going to link it in the description down below. So now it's just a matter of adjusting the speeds we want to be able to reach. I'll be very impressed if we can make it to 220 kilometers an hour. As a matter of fact, I think that's probably a bit too much to put through the first gear, so I'm going to go ahead and add a fifth gear. We'll see how we go with these numbers here. Go ahead and apply them. Now that we've got our gearbox tuned in, we've got all our parts bolted on, and we've got our ECU tuned, let's see what we get on the dyno. What do I think we're going to make? Well, why don't you tell me? Put it in the comments below now, and we'll see who gets the closest. So, I think we're probably going to see more torque gains than horsepower, but I'll be very happy if we get up to about 180 horsepower, and maybe, I'm going to say 240 Newton meters of torque. So 180 horsepower, 240 torque. Okay, moment of truth, people. And we get 180 and 240. One thing I haven't taken notice of is whether or not the exhaust is actually louder in the game. Definitely does sound a bit noisier. Oh, yes! Yes, we almost hit those numbers, exactly. That is a nice improvement. We just picked up about 42% more horsepower, and we picked up about 37% more Newton meters of torque. So, the big question is, are we actually going to beat our time on the track? Are we going to get under 2 minutes? If we take 15 seconds off exactly, we should be looking at 1 minute 59.3 or thereabouts. So, without any further ado, let's take it to the track and see how we go. Okay guys, so I got my Logitech G29 racing wheel all hooked up. As you know, this game doesn't have native wheel support, so if you want to know how I got my wheel working with this game, check out the video linked in the description and see how you can use your wheel with this game. Let's go. We're going to need to beat 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, I'll take a 2 minutes 0.3. Here we go. Full hard down. And we're off. A little bit of tyre squeal. Quite lethargic, if I'm honest. Turn in is quite good. I could definitely feel the grip from those tyres. We got up to third gear already. I feel like I'm already picking some very bad lines here. Ooh, we had the electronic stability control kick in there. So it's possible that we've actually put a bit more pep in this thing. I remember this straight being an eternity on the first run. Here we go. First hairpin. I could probably be a bit more aggressive on the throttle coming out, since it's not an eye-watering amount of speed. This definitely feels faster than I remember, though. Here we go. Out into the Boeing straight. We're in fourth gear. This is the highest gear we've ever been in this car. Carrying some speed right through Witch's Broom. Oh, I wish I put the power on a bit earlier there, but this is definitely going to be faster. 15 seconds faster? I don't know, but we'll find out. Here we go, into the Devil's Tail. Sticking to the right, and then powering in and pulling in towards the late apex. That's all right, we'll take it, we'll take it. Ooh, okay, here we go. Into Stadium Bend 1. Wiping off a little bit of speed for Stadium Bend 2. Maybe a bit more than I would have liked. Foot hard down. Come on, stay on there. Into the final corner. Lots of tyre squeal. And across the line. Oh, shoot! Oh, so close. Oh, is that a fail? I don't know. Oh, guys. Oh, I think that's a fail. We're about a minute. Sorry, we're about a second and a half off the pace there. You know, I reckon if we took it around again, we're going to make it. You know what? Let's do another run. Let's see if we can get it this time. All right, we're going again. Foot hard down. Off we go. Oh, such a slow start. I really need to tweak that gearbox to get the most out of this. Looks like we hit the limit around 6.5, so that's when I need a shift. Lots of understeer there, but I am pushing it a lot harder this time. I'm getting a better idea of how this car drives. Okay, we're heading into hairpin 1 shortly. That late braking worked beautifully. I was a bit late at that time. Powering on. Slight lift coming out of this corner, and then foot hard down. And go around this bend into the Boeing straight. I've really got to set up my race line carefully here. Going around Witch's Broom. It was smooth, and smooth is fast, but I feel like it was smooth because it was slow. Alright, here we go, Devil's Tail. Oh, really concentrating now. I'm so nervous. We gotta beat it. We gotta get under 2 minutes. Stadium bend 1, a little bit more of a lift to get off Stadium bend 2. That was probably too much speed loss. Shifting down, get a bit more torque going into the final bend. Come on, come on, come on, we can do it! We can do it! We can do it! Yes, we did it! Woo! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do it. It came down to driving. I can guarantee you that the reason this thing got such a slow time the very first time we took it out and got a 2 minutes 14.3 was that the car was way too slow. But right now, it's practically a track beast. You know what? I reckon when we style this thing, we'll probably style it after a McLaren P1. Because that, come on, let's face it, that's what it is. It's practically a McLaren P1. It's part electric, it's part combustion, and it's setting lap times faster than 2 minutes. That's probably the kindest thing I could say about it objectively. So we took a stock Prius, we put on stickier race tyres at the stock spec, we fitted it with a complete performance exhaust system, aftermarket EV modules, and then a bunch of engine bolt-ons, including ignition coils, spark plugs, injectors, and filters. We put in a custom gearbox with custom gearing, and we put in a stage 1 ECU with a tune and upgraded the front brakes. With all these modifications, this upgraded Prius dropped its time from 2 minutes 14.37 to 1 minute 55.62, giving it a 20-second advantage over the stock time and putting it within a reasonable distance of our moderate pace car. As far as I'm concerned, that's mission accomplished for this budget build. So guys, thank you so much for watching. This one's been a hell of a ride. Next time we're going to do a ride remix and style this after what this car spiritually is, and that is a McLaren P1. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Tune in next time for our ride remix with the Prius. And as I always say, if you can't build your dream, you should still dream your build.